Hi, I'm Kelly Parisian, founder of Parisian's Pure Indulgence, and today I want to share a recipe with you that I discovered over the holidays. It's called chickpea lime coconut soup, and it's delicious. It's actually what I call company good, and I did serve it to company over the holidays. Anyway, we're all kind of trying to get back into the swing of eating healthy for the new year, and this recipe just goes right along with that. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is add a teaspoon of olive oil to your pan. And now the recipe calls for a tablespoon of coconut oil, which you can go ahead and use that if you like. But I've found whether you use coconut or olive, what you should do is cut that amount in half. I always cut it in half, and I have never found it to change my recipes significantly. So I have added a teaspoon of olive oil, and I've added a half a cup of chopped red onion. Those are already in the pan. I have sweat them a little bit with just a pinch of salt. You always add a little bit of salt to your onions to get them to soften nicely. So they are translucent now, and I'm going to go ahead, excuse me, I'm just getting over a head cold, that crappy head cold everybody's got. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add now 2 teaspoons of chopped garlic. Recipe calls for crushed. If you want to use crushed. I'm using 2 teaspoons of chopped garlic. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get those nice and soft. I'm going to turn up the heat in my pan a little bit. Put that back here. And once those have softened slightly, we're going to add our spice. And now our spice comes from, the recipe calls for 1 small red pepper, the little hot ones. You could use a half of it, the recipe says, or a whole. I couldn't find it in the store, so I went ahead and used a half of a jalapeno, chopped, de-seeded, deveined, and it's going to work just as good. I know because I've done it. So we're going to add that to the pan, simmering now nicely. Turn up the heat just slightly more. Okay, so once we've got that added, I mean, this recipe goes this fast. You're going to see the whole recipe, start to finish, takes 45 minutes. And if you chop fast, it'll probably only take 40 minutes, but I'm a slow chopper. So anyway, now we have added our red onion, our garlic, and our pepper. We're going to next add our sweet potato. Now, when I made this last time, I made it with a yam, and it was a beautiful orange color. Went to the store, grabbed a sweet potato, came home. It was white. So I had this Asian sweet potato. I don't know if you've ever tried these, but these purple Asian sweet potatoes are delicious. They taste similar to our orange yams or sweet potatoes, but they have a creamier texture. I just love them. So the recipe says to cut them into 1-inch pieces, and doing that ensures that they cook quickly, because this soup, believe it or not, is only going to cook for 15 minutes once we get all the ingredients added to it. I mean, who doesn't love that? Who doesn't love to have a hot meal on a cold January day in 45 minutes with only 15 minutes of, well, maybe 20 minutes of cooking time? So the next thing we're adding is a teaspoon of turmeric. Turmeric is so good for us. Natural anti-inflammatory. I did a heaping teaspoon because I love turmeric. So we've added our turmeric. We're going to give it a stir again. It's nice and hot. Everything's sizzling. And the next thing we're going to add is our vegetable stock. The vegetable stock that I use is one that I make myself. Of course, we all know we can buy them in the store. Sometimes I find that they're a little flat, though. They need something. So what I have discovered from my soups and some of my other recipes I make is organic better than bouillon. And this is a vegetable concentrate. And really what this is concentrated vegetables along with a little soy sauce. So what I do to just give it a little more oomph, my vegetable broth I'm talking about, is that I will put a teaspoon into whatever the recipe is. When it calls for something like 3 cups of vegetable broth, I'll add a teaspoon of the concentrate, the better than bouillon, and it really gives it a much better, richer flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and add that now. Next, I'm going to add our coconut milk. Coconut milk. You can use the light if you want. I'm using just the regular. Now we all know there's a layer of fat on the top of the can, so we're going to want to cook that down. Get that soft. And then add our 1 red pepper chopped into bite-sized pieces, smaller, like 1/2-inch pieces. So we're going to add, it's an entire red pepper that has been seeded and deveined. So go ahead and add that. And at this point, I will salt and pepper. Love these Power salt and pepper shakers I got for Christmas. We're going to add the salt and pepper here. And literally, that's it. That's the soup recipe. There's 2 other things we're going to add after it's cooked for 15 minutes. So I'll be back to share just the finishing touches. Our soup has been cooking now for 15 minutes, so it's time to add our spinach. 2 cups of spinach. Easy enough. And give it a stir. Next, we're going to add our garbanzo beans. Now or chickpeas. The soup has been cooking uncovered. I got it to a boil and then simmered it for 15 minutes. Now we're adding the spinach and the chickpeas, and that's going to take maybe an additional 5 minutes to cook down, and then I'm just going to show you how to plate it and add the finishing touches. After the spinach and the garbanzo beans have cooked for 5 minutes, you're ready to plate it. That easy. I'm serving it over some brown rice. I cheated and I used the pre-bagged brown rice from Trader Joe's that takes 3 minutes to cook and just makes my life a little easier. So I probably put a 1/4 cup to 1/3 of a cup on the bottom. And we're going to plate this delicious soup. And we're going to add lime. This I have found is probably the secret to making almost any soup more delicious. And that is to add just a little bit of lime, maybe a tablespoon of lime, squirt two big squirts, and then a little bit of cilantro, and you're done. That's it. 45 minutes start to finish. Enjoy.